Welcome, and thank you for joining TalenTrust June 2020 Executive Briefing, Reimagine Recruiting to Recover and Grow. If you experience technical difficulties during the webinar today, please contact Susan Henry on the TalenTrust team. Her contact information is in the chat. We will also use the chat feature to collect questions. So we encourage you to enter your questions there throughout today's briefing, and Kathleen will address those at the end. Today's briefing is presented by Kathleen Quinn Votaw, founder and CEO of TalenTrust and author of Solve the People Puzzle. Kathleen survived and thrived following the 2008 recession and has become one of less than 2% of women business owners to break the $1 million mark. Kathleen recently completed a Stanford Graduate School of Business course focused on strategy, innovation, and organizational design, and she's helped over 500 companies across the US develop targeted recruiting strategies and, most importantly, engaged employees who want their organizations to succeed. People are critical to a business's ability to recover and grow. In today's briefing, Kathleen will discuss key factors to reimagine during this recovery period to ensure you have the hearts and minds to lead you to a healthy recovery. It's my pleasure to introduce Kathleen Quinn Votaw.
Good morning. Erin Dugan, who just introduced me, is our VP of Customer Acquisition. And it's great to see all of you this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you're calling in from. We have people from all over the country. And now more than ever, it is really important to put people first. And that is the platform for our 2020 webinars. We are going to deliver to you monthly in little bite-sized pieces, because that's what you've asked for, and give you lots of time for Q&A. So I've prepared some content for you today. I'm going to go off my webcam so you can focus on the content, and then I'll come back visually via the webcam for our Q&A. So let's jump into some of the content to get you thinking about how to put your people first. So I'm going to start with retention. Because you need the people that are on your team right now in order to grow and thrive in the recovery. And sometimes we're so focused, I know as a business owner, I'm so focused on all the issues that are happening out there that you might lose focus on why people leave you, which is part of retention. Knowing why they leave can help you put strategies together to retain them. And don't you want to retain those people who have gotten you to where you are today, who have helped you navigate these uncertain last 12 weeks, and who have the talent and the skills to get you through to the other side? I know I certainly do. So let's talk about the top 10 reasons why people might leave you. And then we'll have a little exercise in the chat. So get ready to chat after I present the top 10 reasons. So retention is tied to why people leave you. And the number one reason, which was interesting to me when I put this together at the beginning of the year, is appreciation, which is a no-cost proposition. So the number one reason has outpaced the number one reason from 2019. People want to hear that you care about them and you recognize them and you appreciate them. That's the number one reason. Let's put some strategies in place to tell people you appreciate them. Number two, people quit people, not just their bosses anymore. People quit people. They can quit their boss, certainly. That was a very popular reason why people left in 2019. But now people are quitting people. So you might not even know that Charlie sitting in operations is having difficulty with Joe in sales. So people quit people. So it's broader than just their manager. Number three, I don't fit you and I'm gonna quit you. Number 3, if they don't fit, they're gonna quit. Number 4, I'm bored with the work and I'm unchallenged. This is I think number 4 is gonna move because people right now, productivity, if you have people still employed, productivity is at a little bit of a low in some cases. So really watch this under challenged, bored component, number 4. It might outpace some of these other top 3. I just want you to be really aware of that, because if people are not challenged, they'll go look for challenge. Number 5, you're not giving me any opportunity to grow or training me. I would put $1 to training right now to retain. So train to retain, it's a wonderful way to keep the people you're with, even if you don't have upward mobility within your organization. Number 6, anybody ever tell you they're overworked and overpaid? Well, some of them are overworked and overpaid and burned out. They're just burned out on the work. Number 7, unfair compensation. Now, isn't it amazing that it's the 7th reason why people leave? And some employers think it's number 1. It's not even in the top 5. And note to self, 32% of employees will take 10% less compensation if they fit your culture and they feel appreciated. Number 8, why do I work here? What's the purpose? Think of Simon Sinek. He made why very popular. What is the meaning of the work that we're doing? Make that connection for your people. Number 9, I have no independence. You're all up in my stuff. You're micromanaging me. And number 10, I don't feel stable because I don't know about the company's financial health. That could also have a big impact right now, considering that we all are uncertain, employers and employees, of the future. We're optimistic, but we are uncertain. We had a question in the chat from Dave, and thank you, Dave. What's the source of the top 10 reasons leave an organization? Gallup is a source for some of this, and it's multiple sources, but that's the main source. It's also our work with companies throughout the country. So thank you for asking. So in the chat function, if everyone on the call could please put, what is the number you believe that people quit your company? Just put the number, and then I'm going to give you something that you can use differently within your organization. I'm going to give you a tool, just an idea, because that's why you're on this call. So number 6, I'm burned out. I'm being overworked. We had 2 people say number 6. So here's what you could do. So there's a great way to engage your employees. I use a tool called Tiny Pulse, or you could use a tool that all of us know. It's called SurveyMonkey, and start asking some questions about workload. Most of us as employers, owners, or hiring managers or leaders, whatever you call yourself, we have a big capacity for work. So start having conversations and measuring on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your workload? So 1 being, holy crap, I'm gonna run screaming from the building, you're dumping too much on me. Or 10 being, I'm pretty cool and I can handle everything you're giving me. And then what we do on a 30-day basis is take a look at that. And what you find is sometimes the workload is concentrated in certain departments, with certain people, with some of their attitudes. So the people who said number 6, I'm burned out being overworked, I recommend that you start measuring it today with a tool like SurveyMonkey, which is very low cost, and asking this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how burned out are you? How overworked are you? 1 to 3 is I'm going to run screaming from the building. And, 7, 8, 8, 9, 10 is I'm feeling really confident about my workload. I can handle it. And then give them a place to give you more free-flowing comments. So knowledge is power, and if you can understand how they define being overworked, you're going to be able to put some solutions in place. So that's for number 6. I also got a number 3. I just don't fit. So fit tends to go back to your selection. So if people don't fit your corporate culture, I would look at the selection prior to their hire. And what are you doing to interview them for values, attitudes, and beliefs? Because you can always train a skill, you cannot overcome their values, attitudes, and beliefs. So I would definitely focus on questions that elicit corporate culture and who you are. So start putting at least 3 good questions around values, attitudes, and beliefs. Number 2, people quit people. That's also a selection issue. What are you doing to look at the people internally? Is there somebody in your organization who's hijacking your brand? So sometimes assessments are a great thing to use here in number 2, and find out where the alignment is. It's a really good time right now to upgrade your people if people are quitting people. And also make sure that you understand your values and what you stand for and what your non-negotiables are. And finally, number 8, somebody put into the chat as well, meaningfulness of the job. I hear this from a lot of my friends who I see throughout the country. It's like, I'm making widgets. How can that be meaningful? So you have to connect it to the customer experience and why they're buying what you do. So it's not just making the widget or being in customer service, making that connection to the customer, why they buy what you make or buy what you sell or buy your service, and connecting it to the human. You're not always going to find the connection. And they're probably then not going to fit you because they're not connected to the work that you do. I think number 8 and number 3 are often tied together. So in number 3, I go back and look at selection and really looking at the values, attitudes, and beliefs and asking 3 key questions around those 3 issues. So you can tie it to the meaningfulness of what your end product is and the customers you serve. And then I had one other one in here. Go ahead.
It was number 5, Kathleen. Yep, somebody said limited growth is one of the challenges, and that's number 5. Can you speak to that one?
I certainly can. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah.
She's my memory because I tend to just keep going. No training and development. That's hard because you want to make sure you invest as much as you can in your people. But hey, I know I'm a business owner right now. I am watching cash like a hawk. So what can you do to mentor your people? Who on your team can you help put together some maybe internal webinars on how to learn a skill or learn some communication? Have them come to a complimentary webinar like this. Just because it's limited growth on an org chart doesn't mean it's limited growth as a human. So training doesn't only have to be about going up on the org chart. It has to be about what that human needs to be a better person and to contribute more broadly to your company. Hopefully that's helpful. Thanks, Erin. So thanks for doing that. I thought that was a really fun exercise. Retention is the first place to start when you are looking at reimagining recruitment. And then the second is selection. Selection is going to be really important right now. And I don't want any of you to be fooled just because there's 40 million people unemployed. Just because there's quantity doesn't mean that equals quality. There's also a huge skills gap. The right candidate with the right skills that's going to match your company, your culture, your values, your attitudes and beliefs isn't suddenly going to be available just because the unemployment numbers are high. And by the way, the May numbers were very encouraging because millions of people have begun to be re-employed. So don't be fooled or seduced into thinking that because of the quantity, I'm now going to be able to find the people I need. Because most of those displaced people, God bless them, have been from hospitality, business to consumer businesses, and they're going to hopefully go back to work in June, July, and August and start getting re-employed. You still have to compete for the best and brightest. And selection becomes harder because you've got almost too many people in your top of your pipeline. So recruitment is a sales process, and I want you to rethink it, especially in our recovery, because you need to focus on how are you going to assess the best and brightest with the skills that I need to do the job that I need to deliver to my customers. And I want to focus here on our funnel from candidate screening, candidate interview to offer. So assessment tools can help you identify whether somebody has the skills to do the job, and whether they want to do the job, and will they love to do the job. So there's a couple assessments out there. One that we love at TalenTrust is called Preview, and it's spelled P-R-E capital V-U-E. And Susan Henry can put that in the chat. It's a great tool. Also, get really tight on your candidate interviews. So I mentioned in the retention piece, adding some questions about values, attitude, and belief, as well as the job itself, to make sure you don't employ those who don't fit your culture. Because if they don't fit you, they're gonna quit you. And then let's not be cheap. I know it's hard right now. I'm a business owner too, but make sure that you're compensating people in a fair and reasonable way. It really makes a difference, and compensation is a value. It says, how much do you value me as a human? So make sure that you know that. So selection is going to be really important because there's quantity out there. I want you to focus on screening, put together some scorecards, use assessments. They're low cost, they don't cost a ton. From a candidate interview perspective, know the questions you're going to ask, but more importantly, know the answers you want and rank them on some kind of numeric system. And then make sure you offer what's compelling to close the deal with the candidate. Now, I know that this is kind of a quick hit, and there's a lot more to this, and we'll certainly give you more as you need it. But we're going to open up to some questions in a minute. But I wanted to invite you to do a few things. One, you can certainly book me as a speaker and virtual speaker as well. Go to our website and download our hiring guide. Feel free to connect with me directly via email and on LinkedIn. It's Kathleen Quinn Votaw on LinkedIn. And subscribe to my YouTube channel, KQV Speaks. Now we're going to jump to Q&A. But before we do, you're going to get an assessment from Zoom. Erin can explain all that. And I want you to answer it because we want what topics you want next. So that is really important to us. So let's jump to Q&A, Erin, and you're going to run it.
Yes.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you. Yes. As Kathleen mentioned, there will be a survey. Once you exit the webinar today, there will be a link that pops up immediately. Click it. It's 2 questions. Tell us how we did. We really want to make sure we're adding value for you. And also, what are you interested in for future topics too? So please participate, and thank you in advance. Kathleen, thank you for sharing all of that information. You really did a good job. It's always fun for me to see you here in action. We did have a few questions that came through the chat. And the first one of those was this. What do you find is the most common blind spot organizations have when it comes to recruiting?
So the biggest, I'm going to give you a few. So what I find is that many people have a couple blind spots. I'm going to give you two answers to that. So the first one is they don't know who they are. And if you go back to this slide here, employment brand, it's really about who you are to the candidate audience. And we forget that audience. We forget to talk to them. We talk to our customers, but we don't talk to our candidates. So here's where things fall down quite a bit. We make assumptions that people should know who we are and just go to our website. But social media and how your employees show up is really the point to employment brand. So that's number one. And number two, people really believe that they can't build pipelines. Lead generation in the candidate world is really about building robust pipelines so you have the inventory you want, who does match your values, your attitudes, your beliefs, and oh, by the way, has the skills to do the job, so you're not hiring in crisis. So these are the top two that I see real deficits, and I have to add one more. The candidate interview sometimes, the rubber meets the road here in selection, and really hiring managers have never been trained to do this. So those are my top three. I know you asked for one, but I gave you three in order.
No, that was good. And it does tie to the exercise we were doing in retention as a group here. A number of people did mention, people quitting because they don't fit the culture and people quitting other people. And the reality is, if organizations don't know who they are at the very top, they don't know what their employment brand is, then it's difficult for them to select accordingly, and thus the fall off. And that might be the answer. Sorry, that might be the answer to the next question. But the next question somebody had was, can you give me an example of how recruiting does impact retention?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the reason I know this is entitled Reimagine Recruitment. Well, you have to start with retention. And retention is often looking internal to your people and who can do something next, build their skills versus buy their skills. And so retaining people is training them on a new skill. If they already fit your attitudes, your values, and your beliefs, wouldn't you want to train them to do something new in your organization? So I believe retention is more important than recruitment, because those people already align with your values and attitudes and beliefs. And if you can retain that foundation and then recruit on top of it, that's where the magic happens.
Good. We had one other question. If anybody has further questions, feel free to enter them in the chat. We may have a couple more minutes. The last question that we had here was, what is one thing I should focus on in recruiting to recover during this economic downturn? Just one thing you'd tell me to do.
Just one thing, really, truly, just one.
I mean, you make the rules. It's okay.
Yeah, the problem with, the challenge or the beauty of what I've done since 1985 is it's never just one thing. But if the person who asked the question really wants the one thing, believe that you can build a pipeline of candidates. Believe it. Do it. Don't wait for your next client to, sign a big purchase order with you and not have the people to serve them. Build the pipeline for your growth. Build the pipeline for the recovery. Because I believe in all of us, and I believe in this country, and we are going to come back storming. And I want you to have the pipeline there. So while the quantity is there, start pipelining. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes money, but not too much money, truly. But start pipelining so when you start rocking and rolling again, you have the people to capture the revenue. Because what I heard before 12 weeks ago is I don't have the people to grow. And I never want you to be there again. So pipelining is my number one answer.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think in some of the clients that I've talked to, I've had a few leaders say, you know, wow, this crisis certainly is clarifying that I do or do not have the right people around me to get through this, you know? And so they're seeing gaps in how, and the people that they have to recover. And you're right, being proactive about it now in this market can really get you to the other side. Good.
Totally agree. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last of our questions, and we are coming to the end of our time here. Please do connect with Kathleen via email or LinkedIn, or reach out to have her as a speaker. You will receive follow-up after this executive briefing, and please participate in the survey. We really want to hear from you, and thank you in advance for doing so. We appreciate you joining us and for all of your participation. Our next executive briefing is Thursday, July 30th, again at 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and we hope to see you there. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Be well. See ya.